So love them or hate them, hand cannons are definitely meta. And Annual Skate is 100% a meta option. Now, the only reason why you have not seen more Annual Skates is because there's really no direct way to farm this hand cannon. But believe me, if this roll drop somehow becomes farmable, Annual Skate will replace a lot of your favorite hand cannons right now. And I know some of you are thinking that I'm just saying this right now because I deleted my God Roll Palindrome, which is a fair assessment, but let me just be clear. Annual Skate always had it. It's got that pinpoint accuracy. From its gun design to its sights, this Suros hand cannon just has a good feel to it. And now that it's got random rolls, oh, it gets even nastier. Guys, today I'm going to talk to you about one of the godliest hand cannons in the game, Annual Skate. We'll be going over a number of different rolls. Big shout out to my gents Cage 7 as well as Neat, both of which had some rolls that I wanted us to look at, which really helped me decide which one of these rolls is the god roll. Now, in terms of the random rolls that you can get on this weapon, you do have a number of options here that are unusual for a 140. Number one, Surplus, which depending on how you're looking at it, Surplus is either going to be getting a buff for you next season or a nerf. Now, it's a nerf if you're going with a longer cooldown build. Say, for instance, you're rocking Flux Grenades next season. That lengthy cooldown and that level of lethality from one of your abilities more than likely means that every time that ability comes up, you're going to be using it. However, if you're rocking Fireball Grenades or Dustfill Grenades or something that has a super fast cooldown, this means you're going to have more uptime for Surplus at 2 and 3 stacks. And again, this is something that greatly benefits all weapons, but especially here on Annual Skate. We're talking 50 reload speed increase, 50 handling, as well as 25 stability. And just sitting here looking at Annual Skate and its stats, you can see that Surplus could almost max out both the reload speed and the handling. And that ginormous bump there in stability is actually what makes Annual Skate feel good with each and every follow-up shot. And this is something that's really beneficial for controller players and mouse and keyboard players. And both the rolls that you're seeing today were both Surplus rolls, and they felt phenomenal. I often talked about how good Waking Vigil feels, but let me be clear, Waking Vigil felt its best when it was a lightweight weapon. Minus the increase in movement speed, Surplus here on Annual Skate makes it feel like a lightweight weapon. And that's something that I really miss from that archetype. Don't get me wrong, I also miss it shooting at 150 rounds per minute, but I miss the feel. The feel is what made lightweight weapons so desirable, and Annual Skate with Surplus feels just like that. So in terms of the god roll, you definitely want Surplus on it. Now, let's talk that final column. We actually swap back and forth between two different perks, one of them being Multi-Kill Clip, which is our damage perk, and the other one being Timed Payload. Now, I know opening shot's gonna be brought up. A lot of people like opening shots on all their weapons, even on a hand cannon. It lines up that first shot. It gives you that increase in aim assist right out the gate, that increase in range. It's a good perk. But what if I told you that Timed Payload is just opening shot, but on every shot? Timed Payload splits your projectile up, dealing impact damage and explosion damage. Now, that explosive damage, at least in Timed Payload's case, does have a slight delay. To me, it's actually even better than explosive, just simply because you have a staggered approach when it comes to flinching your enemies. You've got the initial shot from your hand cannon, which does flinch, and then the Timed Payload shot normally explodes in between your first and second shot. That's that staggered flinch. So the opponent actually feels like they're getting hit twice, and that can really mess opponents up, especially in 1v1 duels. Timed Payload is extremely good, but like all payload perks, the reason why I say they're like opening shot, but on every shot, is because quite literally, they're like opening shot. It's been proven that payload perks have better overall consistent hit registration. And maybe it's due to the fact that it's an explosive round and it's making direct contact with the environment and you actually see it. Or better yet, maybe it's due to the fact that it doesn't have any damage fall off, meaning as long as your reticle is lined up and you're accurate enough, no matter what range you are at, that explosive damage from a payload perk will always do full damage and hit. And that's the beautiful part. It hits. It just has overall consistency matching that of opening shots. And guys, I've used a number of hand cannons with explosive perks, Fatebringer, True Prophecy. There's a reason why I love those hand cannons with a payload perk, and it's because it quite literally makes the weapon feel like an opening shot weapon, but on every single shot, on top of all the benefits of flinching your opponent. By far, this hand cannon felt unbeatable. Yeah, this roll right here, this Surplus timed payload roll with accurate rounds, high range, it felt good. Almost to the point that I was challenging duels where I knew I was almost half health, where I felt like I would lose in normal 1v1 scenarios, but because of Annual Skate, its fluidity, its extra handling from Surplus, its overall dueling capability, abilities and payload, constantly flinching my opponents, I felt unstoppable with this role. I cannot stress to you guys how good this hand cannon actually is. And for this particular role, it beats out a lot of things, guys. It beats out the godliest role palindromes, every nasty role Fatebringer that we played with this past year, Dire Promise, Waken Vigil, even Less's Finite Impactor. Yeah, Annual Skate, Surplus Time Payload, absolutely wrecks. Now, the other role that we gave a try to is Multi-Kill Clip. We wanted to see a damage perk here, just to see how much it actually helps. As you know, these 140s do require a 3-tap, hitting 70 damage per crit, but that number gets kicked up with Multi-Kill Clip to 82 damage per crit. By the way, I just gotta mention, even without a payload perk, how good Annual Skate can line up those 3-taps. It's beautiful, man. Now, the body shot damage goes from 47 damage per body to 55 damage per body, which means technically it can actually secure the 1 crit 2 body kill with Multi-Kill Clip on mid-resilience Guardians. Understand though, there is some rounding there, which is why even with Multi-Kill Clip, I did leave some Guardians 1 shot when landing 2 bodies and 1 crit. But expect somewhere around 4 to 5 resilience to be the cutoff mark for that 1 crit 2 body combo. Now granted, that increase in damage is still nice, and you can of course accumulate multiple stacks of Multi-Kill Clip, going from 17% to 33%, maxing out at 50%. And some other benefits about Multi-Kill Clip is that you don't have to time your reload. You can immediately reload after getting a kill, allowing you to take advantage of that increase in damage with more ease in comparison to Kill Clip, although Kill Clip is just that immediate 33% more damage. Personally though, even though the damage was nice, and even though Annual Skate all on its own is able to line up those 3 taps, especially with Surplus, I found that time payload is just too good, guys. Like, maybe have a Multi-Kill Clip roll inside of 6v6 if you so wish, and then have a time payload roll for trials. But personally, if I had that Surplus time payload roll, I would use it for 6v6 and trials. Now, the limiting factor here is the weapon's range. Even with max range, we're talking sure shot, accurized rounds, a ranged masterwork. This weapon starts to experience damage fall off at about 31.5 meters. I know, not the best. When we look at weapons like Palindrome, which can roll with things like Rangefinder, that weapon pushes up to almost 37 meters. And I know range seems to be such an important factor on all of our weapons, but especially hand cannons, right? We want to hit full damage. We want to make sure we're getting that consistent 3-tap at great lengths. But guys, I gotta tell you, man, Annual Skate, despite it not having that level of range, still has really good range and still outcompetes Palindrome. Like, straight up, it's the best legendary hand cannon I've played with. And even against the likes of like Ace of Spades and other exotic hand cannons, I'm actually leaning toward Annual Skate and this Surplus time payload roll over exotics. That's how good it is. And if only there was a way to single out Annual Skate and farm for this weapon, you would see this weapon in every single lobby. It's just a roll drop, so it's just all left up to RNG. Who knows, maybe weapon crafting will fix this. The real question at this point, will Ias Luna surpass Annual Skate? That's a tough one, man. I can tell you right now, the bar has been set high, at least for myself. So Ias Luna, when it comes to us next week, is gonna have to be cooking. Now, for my PvE players that are considering this weapon, this is a solar weapon. It does have a couple of other options that you may want to consider for PvE, including things like Dragonfly, Triple Tap, Swashbuckler, Wellspring, which by the way, we mentioned the other day. Wellspring is about to become a more important part with the dynamic cooldown adjustments starting next week. And then of course, Time Payload is still a great perk inside of PvE. You're still roughly looking at an increase there to damage. And when dealing with certain champions, especially overload champions, Time Payload is a fantastic perk for getting those consistent stunts. I do have a Triple Tap Swashbuckler roll that I was playing with, and it was all right. But personally, even inside of PvE, I think I would take either Outlaw Surplus over Triple Tap, despite Triple Tap returning you 1 round to your magazine when landing those 3 precision shots. I just find Outlaw Surplus to just be better options here. Overall though, Annual Skate, a top tier option, the best legendary hand cannon I have played with in a very, very long time. So if you have a god roll, count yourself lucky, because this bad baby is rare. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.